G'day guys, this is an extremely important video. In this video, we're going to be going over my buying plan. We're going to be going over the short, medium term price action. But more importantly, and the major point of this video is this. The 4-year cycle trend on Bitcoin, the strongest trend Bitcoin has ever seen, an 11-year long date range trend backed up by the presidential cycles, backed up by the halving itself, backed up by 4 date range trends, is seeing its final test here. Within the month of January, if Bitcoin is not bottomed out, the 4-year cycle trend will be proven pretty much invalid, right? Not fully invalid, but it would be stretched out and it'd be pretty much invalid, which means for the next 30 days here on Bitcoin, less than 30 days, Bitcoin will be testing its strongest trend ever. If it loses that, the amount of macro confidence Bitcoin could lose could push it to a potential point of no return, or at least very little chance of return. That's the worst case scenario. But on the other hand, if Bitcoin manages to hold that trend, we could be in for a pretty good run in 2023, and we could be in for that trend becoming even stronger and the predictability of Bitcoin becoming even better for future years in 2024 and 2025, allowing us to predict the next bull market's high at a pretty high rate of accuracy. So a massive time here. This is a much worse video, and I've also identified within this video a couple of new charts. I've identified a new trend between bottom and halving in every single cycle that kind of strengthens the argument for the 4-year cycle. So huge video here, guys. I highly recommend sticking to the end of it and watching the whole thing. Otherwise, it won't make perfect sense. All right, so let's get into it, guys. I just want to very briefly show you guys the VIP results for Q4. The Q4 results, which is October, November, December for VIP, have been released. We had 24 trades reach their targets. We have 3 trades that are still pending and 5 trades that did not reach their targets. We have a 30% discount on all VIP orders until January 14th. So the next, 10 or 11 days, you can get a 30% discount on VIP orders, 3-month membership for 70 USD. Go ahead and check that out, and go ahead and check out the results. You can find a link to this document in the pinned comment. All right, guys, let's get into the video now. So first and foremost, before we discuss the macro, we need to get into the buying plan. Bitcoin is broken down from a bear flag formation. That bear flag formation is this pink kind of channel formation here. We broke down from it. We came back up. We're forming a resistance support flip. That could be very bearish. And that resistance support flip is also rejecting from this blue line here, which is the 21 EMA, offering extra resistance. It's not a very good situation to be in for Bitcoin. And, at the same time as we're resistance support flipping on that channel formation, we're also seeing a resistance support flip from the triangle formation. So Bitcoin's actually not in a particularly strong position right now. Does that mean it will go downwards? It's very hard to say. If this chart alone was to say, have anything to say for it, yes, it would be. It would mean Bitcoin would go downwards. But right now, we've also seen on the weekly candle close, the total cryptocurrency market cap just barely almost hold that kind of major support line stemming from 2018. It didn't quite hold it, right? We did just close below it. But the recent price action in shape of us coming back above it just in the last kind of 24 hours there is kind of leaving me a little bit skeptical. Perhaps it could be labeled a fake out. Perhaps we'll have to wait and see. That's kind of one of the only reasons I'm kind of holding out hope for Bitcoin to kind of maintain these levels, because I don't see that breakdown as very convincing down the total cryptocurrency market cap. But regardless of what really happens here on Bitcoin, we do need to understand the buying plan. Now, previously, my buying plan on Bitcoin was the following: buy 50% at 17 to 18k, which we did. We've bought 50% at 17 to 18k. And I previously said if we go down further to say 11.5k to 13.8k, which is the next possible bottom for Bitcoin, it's the next target, and we can see that on this macro chart here, the next low below this yellow uptrending macro line stemming back from 2014 is 13.8k to 11.5k. So that if we do break down further, we will be going towards that level. I previously said we'd buy the remaining 50% there. But given the fact that there is a small chance that Bitcoin will be dragged down deeper from the macro situation, I'm not actually comfortable trying to catch the lows with the other 50%. And the reason being isn't because I think it's likely Bitcoin will go lower than that. It's because I'm safeguarding. I'm safeguarding myself. I don't need to, we as investors, we don't need to put in 100% of our capital before a trend reversal. The logical thing to do is to buy the rest at the trend reversal. The trend reversal is where you see the best risk reward ratio. Doesn't matter what our opinion is. My opinion is that Bitcoin has a very, very, very little chance of going anywhere below 11.5k, if even we get there, which I think is unlikely as well. But the point is, doesn't matter what my opinion is. The fact is we need to be consistent with our ideologies around investing. And the best thing you can do as an investor is not try to catch a falling knife, at least not with 100% of your capital, right? We've already done it with 50%. We already bought 50% at 17 to 18K. So why would we buy the remaining 50% at, a low? We would buy it at the trend reversal, and that trend reversal would stem from a break above the bull market support band on the weekly chart here, because a break above the bull market support band would also be a break above this downtrending yellow line, and it would also be a break above the 200-day SMA. So there's many things here that, and on top of that as well, just adding to it, a break above the bull market support band would also be a break above the 300-week SMA as well. So that would be the trend reversal point. So what I would say is that the buying plan is this: we've already bought 50%, and the remaining 50% we will reserve until we break above all three of those things. Bull market support band, 200-day SMA, yellow line. At this point in time, that would require a break above 19.5K. But the good news is those things are moving downwards. So the longer it takes for us to find that trend reversal, the lower price on Bitcoin we'll get, and we'll end up with a very strong average price on Bitcoin, which is good to see regardless. So that's kind of the buying plan. And now we can step into the macro and try to answer that question, that the age-old question: when will Bitcoin bottom? Where will Bitcoin bottom? And just jumping into the macro just from a basic level before we get into the newer charts. The 4-year cycle theory is the best chart you can look at when it comes to the macro, in my opinion, on Bitcoin. I want to briefly interrupt this video to talk about the Bitget Exchange. The Bitget Exchange has 5 times lower fees than Binance, which is the biggest major exchange in the cryptocurrency market on futures. It also has 0 fees on every single spot pair, so you can trade spot for entirely free, no fees included. It runs events. Right now it's got a FIFA World Cup event sponsored by Messi, the football player. It's got copy trading, strategy trading. It's got exclusive rewards and discounts in the reward center. It's got everything you need for a trader using an exchange. This is the exchange I personally use as a trader for my everyday trading, and I highly recommend everyone does so at the Wolves of Crypto YouTube channel. Sign up using my referral link for exclusive rewards and discounts. That really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it. For my fans from the United States of America, you can sign up using this exchange with a VPN and use the exchange with a VPN and just sign up using my referral link like normal, and you'll be treated like a normal customer because this is also a non-KYC exchange. So make sure to sign up using my referral link in the pinned comment or the description below, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. And this is a chart that says, hey, look, the bottom could have very well been in there in November. And if it's not in there in November, it's going to be in January. This is the 4-year cycle chart, and the date range chain does suggest that, either a Q4 bottom or a January bottom. And of course, we're in January now. So we're running out of time here with the 4-year cycle to find that new low. If we are going to find a new low, if we are going to go down further below 15.4K, it will be in January. And the deadline we have supports that, right? We have a deadline on Bitcoin, and that deadline is stemming from the RSI and the weekly chart, right? We have a triangular formation. Let me go ahead and draw this up. We have a triangular formation on the RSI here on the weekly chart that says it comes to an apex on the 9th of January, around the 9th of January, meaning that before that point, or at least in the week of the 9th of January, so actually realistically before the 15th of January, we will be seeing a directional decision on the weekly RSI, which will lead to a directional decision on Bitcoin. So stemming from that January 9th point, there will be a move that would bring Bitcoin either up or downwards. And this ties in very well to the 4-year cycle theory, and actually supports the 4-year cycle theory quite well, because look, as we said before, if we're going to see lower lows, it's going to be in January. And the weekly RSI suggests if we're going to see another move downwards, it will be in January. So, and that's not saying we're going to see a move downwards in January. It says that if we are going to see it, it will begin in January, and therefore will most likely bottom out in January as well. Because when we see those moves that stem into new lows, they're very quick. Look at the move we saw with FTX, for example, right? This happened within a matter of 3 days, and we were bottomed out, right? If we see another crash, it will be very, very swift, and it will most likely bottom out within January as well, as per that weekly chart RSI suggesting the apex is going to be in January. If the move begins in January, it will end in January as well. So, I think the 4-year cycle is in a very good position right now, and I do genuinely think we will see that Q4 bottom. My opinion on that has not changed, and the only way it will change is if it's proven incorrect. There's really no other way to say it. If we go into February and we make a low in February, cool, I was wrong. But until that point, there's no decisive way for me to be proven incorrect. It just has to be proven incorrect. The only thing we can wait for is time. But at this point, yes, I think the Q4 bottom or January bottom are in play. I think the 4-year cycle is in play. And I think it's very, 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 very unlikely that if Bitcoin was to go down further, I think it's very unlikely it would go down below 11.5K. That's the absolute lowest point I can see Bitcoin going. And even there is a little bit skeptical, in my opinion. But ultimately, that was just recapping a bunch of stuff we've already talked about in the past. I want to get into some new charts now. And the new charts we're looking at really is the monthly chart RSI and also the bottom to halving dates. The monthly chart RSI here, we have a very clear trend, okay? So this is the entire price history of Bitcoin, and we have the monthly chart RSI up. What we can see is that this little line here on the monthly chart, 44 on the monthly chart RSI, you can see has been the bottom on Bitcoin, matching up with the price as well, as you can see on two separate occasions, right? In the 2015 bear market and the 2019, 2018 bear market, we've seen that RSI line at 44 mark the bottom. Now, this bear market, for the first time ever, out of these three tests here, we have not seen that. In fact, we saw us come down below that line, and we resistance support flipped below that line, which is extremely bearish. Now, this means one or two things. It means that either Bitcoin's destroyed that macro trend, it's destroyed that macro structure, and it's destined to go lower, or it means that this is a massive fake out, and Bitcoin is hence in one of the best buying opportunities we've ever seen. Okay, that's interesting, right? Because if there's no in between there, it's either one of the two things. It's either Bitcoin's in an amazing buying opportunity, or Bitcoin's broken that macro structure and it looks terrible, okay? What you will note is that this macro structure was actually broken during the initial kind of lunar controversy that was happening in June. And perhaps if that didn't occur, we wouldn't have lost that line. But we can't talk about if, buts, and ands. The fact of the matter is that's a big question there. Is Bitcoin in a terrible situation in which it's breaking macro structure, or is it kind of in the best buying opportunity ever? And this is something, again, that the 4-year cycle will only kind of tell. If the 4-year cycle gets disproven, it's much more likely Bitcoin's in a terrible position, whereas if it remains the same, it's very, very likely, of course, that that was a buying opportunity and that was a fake out, and this trend it's still entirely valid. The other thing I really wanted to look at here is the bottoms to halving dates. We've talked a lot about these 4 date range trends here, from top to top, from bottom to bottom, from top to bottom, and from bottom to top, and all of those line up very well with the bottom we saw in December, and quite well with the potential bottom in January. But another thing that actually lines up very well with the bottom we saw in December and even the January bottom is a date range trend taken from the bottoms to the halvings. The first halving, of course, was in 2012, and from the first bottom, the first major bottom we saw on Bitcoin was 2011. We saw 400 days from the bottom to the halving, right? In 2015, we saw 530 days from the bottom to the halving, and in 2018, we saw 518 days from the bottom to the halving. So you can see a clear trend there. Around 400 to 500 days from bottoms to halvings is generally the trend for Bitcoin. Right now, if we were to take a measurement of where the halving is suspected to be at, it would be around April 2024. And assuming the December bottom was the correct bottom on Bitcoin, assuming that was the low, we would have 500 days from bottom to halving, which again would line up perfectly with what we saw in the past. Now, even if we saw a bottom on Bitcoin in January, say we saw a bottom on the 16th of January, right? Because we're going to make a move by the 9th, right? Or within that week. Say we saw a bottom on the 16th, right? That would still be 455 days from bottom to halving, and that would still line up quite well with the date ranges we have here. So the fact of the matter is this: there is major supporting evidence for the fact that the bottom was in December, or will be in very, very, very shortly, not only coming from the 4-year cycle date range trend that we've looked at before, but also from this bottom to halving date range trend, which is entirely new, which we could actually apply to the 4-year cycle trend. So that's very interesting as well. And in fact, I'm actually going to, after I finish this video, I'm going to add that date range trend to this 4-year cycle trend, which will make the 4-year cycle trend a trend not only supported by the halving itself, not only supported by the presidential cycles, and not only supported by 1, 2, 3, 4 date range trends, but 5 date range trends, making it the ultimate strong trend. I genuinely think this 4-year cycle theory, this 4-year cycle date range trend, is one of the most powerful trends Bitcoin has ever seen. And if we do lose it, I really, that would be a massive hit for the macro structure of Bitcoin. We'll be finding that out, guys, within this month, right? By the end of this month, we'll be finding that out. That's big stuff. So for those of you getting bored of crypto, getting bored of the markets, at least stick around to the end of the month, because this is major, major, major stuff here. The first halving was in 2012. It is 2023 now. This is an 11-year date range trend in the formation that is going to be tested and proven wrong or proven right by the end of January. Massive stuff, guys. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.